Hello and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Mikey.
And you, Kieran?
Yeah, I was wanting to see what would happen. I wanted to see if you would say it right, but you didn't.
And me, Kieran.
There we go.
I ain't gonna ever pretend to be you.
Oh, there's a
I think
deeper
that'll
meaning
go. I think that'll go wrong for everybody.
there. But no, with me, Kieran.
And me, Mikey Mouse.
Mikey Muse. There we are. So in this one, we've sort of hinted at doing this one once before, and it's we've done the sort of format before with Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino, but with this one, we're going to go for an actor this time, and he's a hot topic, isn't he? Really? But we're going to go with Thomas Cruise Mapother the Fourth.
Oh my god!
I know that's his actual name, Mapother. Which, like, it doesn't even compute in my head. It doesn't make sense.
No, it sounds.
And the fact that it's the fact that it's the fourth as well. So obviously his dad, and then his dad's dad, and then his dad's dad's dad.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I think the reason we gravitated towards him is like we like most of his filmography, and like I don't speak for you too much, but also he is one of the acting superstars. Like,
yeah.
You know, he's like a household name. Like everybody's heard of Tom Cruise. If you haven't heard of Tom Cruise, like
Yeah.
you don't even have to be remotely into film to be into Tom Cruise.
No.
It's not be into Tom Cruise to know who Tom Cruise is. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like it's like Brad Pitt, Leonardo,
Meryl Streep, Scarlett Johansson.
No, I wouldn't put Scarlett Johansson in the same category as Meryl Streep here.
No, I don't think I would, but like she is a big name. Like
she's not as big as these guys. I just said Jennifer Lawrence was bigger than Scarlett Johansson.
I think Scarlett Johansson has better acting chops than Jennifer Lawrence.
Where's her Oscar?
What has Jennifer Lawrence got one for?
She got it for was it Silver Linings?
Jennifer Lawrence has got an Oscar.
I'm pretty sure she does.
We're off track already in the first.
Yeah, I know.
But let's have a look at this. Jennifer Lawrence.
I know. Is it a Golden Globe?
Academy Awards. Right. Wins Best Actor 2013. Right. Has Jennifer Lawrence won Oscars to 85th? Yeah. Yeah, which is she winning in for 2013 though? This is just a video. I want a straight up answer. Yeah, he was right. Best acting role for Silver Linings Playbook. GG.
Whee!
I stand corrected.
I'm not just a pretty face.
I actually do really like that film. I think that film's a great film.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but anyway,
we've chose Tom Cruise for this episode, and in similar fashion to like our directing ones, I think not just because to make life easier on us, but also like I'm not blowing our own trumpet, but I like our way of categorizing them because if you're just gonna rank them like 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or whatever,
I think he's got like.
It's like an impossible decision, and if you look at his filmography,
he's got like 45 films or something like that.
Yeah, he's got 50 credits on IMDb.
Oh, is it 50?
And like that's like a near impossible decision, and like whatever. And also, it asks a lot of questions. The categories we've done, I feel.
Yeah, it gets us really sort of like really. I mean, to be fair, I actually found his quite hard to do. Apart from underrated and masterpiece, the others I actually struggled with.
What I like similar to the Christopher Nolan episode. What I'm interested to now, and like, to let you behind the curtain per se, our adoring fans, our masses of fans, is me and Kieran tend to, if we know we're going to discuss something on the podcast, we don't discuss it in IRL.
Yeah, because we don't want to like taint each other's views.
Or lean towards another view, or like not like it's going to be like surprising whatever we say or whatever, blow each other's minds. But yeah, we like to know. And now in particular, like similar to the Christian one, we haven't told each other's like answers per se.
Mm.
Not like it's a quiz, but I've got in order of my answers. I've got underrated, cult classic, fan favorite, masterpiece, and best work. Do you want to go in that order?
Yeah, we can go in that order. Yeah.
So my underrated, despite me saying like, oh, it's like it's a lot easier to have them like one answer for each one. I couldn't decide between like one for my underrated, and I've put Cocktail / Edge of Tomorrow. And the reason I've said Cocktail is because I don't know many people have watched Cocktail, but I think it's like a great romantic drama with like some ups and downs, and it's got a good like, despite it like having some like quite dark bits, it has like a good 80s vibe. As a general rule, I think apart from, I don't know, I'm gonna get like Top Gun Maverick. I think every film we're gonna discuss is at least a good few years old, like especially Cocktail, M&A88.
Yeah, most stuff are
going to
be
spoil
80s, 90s. Well,
yeah.
actually, I think most of mine are actually a new millennium.
We're gonna we're gonna differ there again. Like, that's what's gonna be cool. So yeah, we're gonna spoil every film we're gonna discuss.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Cocktail. It's one of the few ones I haven't seen of his.
This is why, again, I've chosen it as underrated, because I feel like it deserves more love, like.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely heard of it, and I've heard about, things that happen within it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. But, I mean, for you to say it's underrated, I was a bit surprised, because I have heard people talk about it. Because what I put, I've actually got like 4 as my underrated.
Have you?
Yeah, but because I don't know which I'd categorize as the most underrated, but I think okay, I'll name all 4. So underrated, number 1 is War of the Worlds. Right. Number 2 is The Last Samurai. Number 3 is Valkyrie, and then number 4 is Collateral.
So I only watched Last Samurai recently, and I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think it's a really good film.
Mm-hmm.
But Collateral, I haven't watched for years.
Yeah.
And I found it boring at the time, so I probably wouldn't watch it again. I don't know whether that's because like I watched it when it first came out, so I was quite a bit younger.
Oh yeah, it's like 2004, I think it was.
Yeah, so it came out a while ago. And Valkyrie, funny like anecdote about Valkyrie was I went to the cinema to try and watch like some random like not sexy film, but basically like I was like 14, we was in year 8 or something with my friend. Went to go watch, that was it, Sex Drive. It was literally called Sex Drive. It wasn't like overly sexual. It wasn't a softcore porn film or anything like that. It literally just was a 15 had sexual jokes in.
Yeah.
And literally, again, it was like, sounds really nerdy and like pathetic. Like, my friend at the time was rather short, especially for like year 8. And we got ID'd for a 50, couldn't go watch that. And we just like, was like, we're at the cinema now. It's like, might as well watch something. And we watched Valkyrie. And like, spoilers, Valkyrie was low-key really good. And it turns out like years later, I watched Sex Drive, which was just like a shitty, not even like remotely good. Like, you wouldn't even compare it to American Pie or whatever.
God.
So
they
yeah,
literally have the exact same story. But basically, me and my friends wanted to go and watch Tropic Thunder, right? Because I think that was like a 15 or something, and we were like,
Tropic Thunder's on my list.
Yeah, it was. I was like 13 or 14 when Tropic Thunder came out, right? And we had one of our friends that was with us. He was like, he's the one that looks, he's the shortest. He's the one that looks the youngest. If he can get a ticket, we can all get a ticket. And we sent him in, but also at the same time, he was like the most nervous of us all. So he'd have bottled it like first chance or whatever. Like, how old are you? And he would have gone 13 rather than saying he should have been 15 or whatever, So basically, he couldn't get in. So we were all like, oh, we can't go see Tropic Thunder now, right? So then the only other film that was showing was Twilight, the Moon, or the New Moon, or something, whatever it's called, right? So we had to go see that. It was a horrible film. It's a boring film. Everything was predictable, right? But we had so much fun just like ripping into it and taking the piss, like laughing amongst ourselves or whatever. Like there's all these girls like watching it, like teenage girls.
Yeah, that was what happened to me essentially, in the sense that Valkyrie was a better time.
Yeah, well, for me, Tropic Thunder would have been a better time. But I just found that so funny that we literally had the same sort of childhood as, oh, can we try and get to the cinema? No, we can't get to see this film we want. All right, we'll go and watch something else. But ironically, it worked out for you because, yeah, I never saw Valkyrie in the cinema. I watched it on the telly when it came out on like Film 4 or something like that. And I really enjoyed it. I've watched it multiple times since, and I think it's a really solid story. I think it's really good, but I don't think many people have seen it. I think Samurai is another really good performance from Tom. Like, it's a solid film, but again, I don't think many people have seen it. Collateral, right? I think Collateral is severely underrated because I've really enjoyed it. It's not a massive plot. It's not overly complex. It's just a very simple story, but it's the simplicity of the story which is great. And I'd argue that's actually one of Tom's better performances. And also, why does he look older in 2004 than he does now? Like the makeup and
someone's hair grey in it.
Yeah, the makeup and everything they did for his character then is brilliant. Like, whoever did the makeup for him, they really made him look old compared to how Tom actually looks now at 60. Like, it's ridiculous. But then War of the Worlds, you could say is underrated, but you could also say it's not underrated because I feel like a lot of people have seen it, but I don't feel enough people talk about it as like a Tom Cruise film. If you talk about Tom Cruise, you talk of A Few Good Men, Magnolia, Mission Impossible, Top Gun. Those are the sort of things people talk about. They don't necessarily talk about War of the Worlds. And for us growing up, War of the Worlds was like
2004, isn't it? So
yeah. I loved it. I shat my pants watching that film at like 10, 11 years old. Right, I've really enjoyed that film. And like what's his name? Andy Dufresne. What's his? Tim Robbins. Yeah.
Tim Robbins.
I was fucking creeped out by that guy. I was like, get him.
I can't. I vaguely remember it, you see, but I suppose like again, like that's like I remember it being good.
Yeah.
I've probably watched it once after, but like in a similar case to that's why I've picked like Joint with like underrated. Like if I've clicked Said Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because when you think of like action films and you think of Tom Cruise, it's always Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow is a good action-packed film, and it's like
it is. I agree. I actually enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed it.
I think he has a good arc, like at the start with him being a coward, like he becomes a hero, and also like I know it's it's a Tom Cruise episode, but also I feel like we're talking about his films and like obviously like his performances is an element to that, but also like it's who he shares the screen with and how he like their chemistry is done well and whatever.
Oh yeah, with Emily Blunt.
And I think Emily Blunt still is like good as well. She's great in it.
I actually think that's Emily Blunt's first major role as well.
I know she's in The Devil's Wear Prada, but like that's like
that's a secondary role. Yeah, that's a secondary character that is there. Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think like both. I don't know. I kind of agree with your picks there. I'll be honest. Yeah. Especially Last Samurai, but Collateral I don't really agree with. I can't like.
I think you need to watch that now.
I'll have to watch it again now.
Yeah, I think you need to watch it now because I mean Jamie Foxx is also brilliant. And I remember Jamie Foxx telling a story in an interview saying because that was Jamie Foxx's like first big role, and he says he's like I finally made it. I'm a serious actor. And then there's a scene where they flip the taxi, right? And I think the stunt went wrong or something. But then all the stunt crew and everyone come running over, right? And basically everyone was sort of leaning over Jamie Foxx to be like, Tom, are you okay? And Jamie Foxx is like, oh, I guess I'm not that famous yet. I'm not important enough yet.
To address the elephant on the room on a Tom Cruise episode, I think I quite like him as a bloke, to be fair. But despite like whatever you like think about his Scientology ways or whatever,
yeah,
you can't deny he's a great actor.
I think his personal life aside, I mean, there's obviously some people that's personal lives where they're like, oh, I'm not allowed to enjoy what they do because they're just a horrible person. I don't think Tom's a horrible person at all. I just think he's manipulated because I think it was one of his earlier girlfriends or something that got him involved in Scientology, and then once you're in Scientology, you can't get out, basically.
He's never gonna get out.
Yeah, and then he's got some, like, he's got kids, but like, does he see his kids, or I don't know much about it, but what he does for cinema and what he brings to the screen for his audience, and even the time he spends on the red carpets and things like that, and he spends time with
press interactions, the way he's like trained and the way he is with that, he's great.
Yeah, he's like one of the best.
He comes across sound, whether he is or not, or in a lot of I think he comes across sound.
Yeah.
My cult classic.
Yes.
And, like, this is always like a funny one to do, because like, the definition of a cult classic is something like a lot of people, like, not a lot of people have watched, or just like a certain audience, or it's a cult classic film. I've chosen it as a cult classic, not so much like it's an unheard of film, but more so like people forget it's not like the first Tom Cruise film you think of. And I've chosen Tropic Thunder. You said it just. It's like, it's not a huge Tom Cruise role.
No.
It's one of my favourite, and it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
When you see it, and it steals screen. It's outrageous. It's like, it's jokes. It's worth like if you said, like, to me, like, there's like, obviously we discussed this in the episode, there's loads of like classic Tom Cruise scenes, and loads of people think of like, A Few Good Men scene with Jack Nicholson, and I like, a lot of like Tom Cruise action scenes. But like, one of my favourite like Tom Cruise scenes is got to be the dance at the end of like Tropic Thunder, and also like just the mad dialogue of you wouldn't expect him to say, he says, "Take a big step back,"
and literally, it's like, who am I speaking to? This is Flaming Dragon. Okay, Flaming Dragon, fuckface. Okay, what I want you to do is take a big step back and literally fuck your own face.
That's it. Yeah, so it's great. Like,
the thing is, I never knew that was Tom Cruise until the credits. In fact, I don't recall actually watching. I mean, you rarely watch the credits, do you, when you come out of cinema? So I don't think I knew it was Tom Cruise for a long time after seeing it.
Yeah.
Right? And I couldn't put it as... I wanted to put Tropic Thunder in one of these ratings because it's probably one of his best acting ever.
Exactly.
Because you don't know it's him. But
like
but it's such a minor role that I just couldn't justify putting it in my lists. I put it down as an honourable mention.
See, that's why I've put it, is because when he's on the screen, though, like Bill Hader, if I remember correctly, plays his assistant in it, and like, so every scene he has, Bill Hader's in it with him. And Bill Hader is a great bloke, like, especially Barry, and like every stuff he's been in, he's good. But he shares the screen with him, and he steals the show.
Oh yeah.
Every scene Tom Cruise is in, his jokes, like, it's mad, it's weird, it's intense, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But what's your cult classic pick?
So my cult classic picks, I actually went for a bit more of a cult classic picks, and I was gonna put either Risky Business, Cocktail, or Magnolia.
You know what? The reason I kind of agree with both those picks, and this is like by definition cult classic, I suppose, is because I haven't watched Magnolia or Risky Business. Risky Business is on my list to watch. As in, like, I know it's old as the hills, but like I know, like, people have liked it and watched it. People who have watched it have liked it.
Yeah.
I just haven't got around to it.
Yeah, I'd say Magnolia is like his best. It's argued that that's the best acting Tom's ever done in his career, and I think it's one of the only times he was nominated for an Academy Award, and he was snubbed.
What's the premise of Magnolia?
Huh?
What's the premise of Magnolia?
Oh god, you got me trying to remember it now. In a nutshell, basically, he's got a dad who wants nothing to do with him, and the whole film is kind of like him saying "fuck my dad," and then when his dad's about to die, he goes to see him, and he's basically telling his dad to go fuck himself, like in the deathbed. But when his dad does die, he then has this like amazing sort of like monologue of like, "I spent all my life hating you, and now that you're gone, I regret it."
Huh.
And it's also a bigger meaning because also Tom's real dad was like an estranged dad, so he didn't really have a dad growing up. He was missing that sort of part of growing up, and he obviously tapped into that for this performance. So that's why everyone says like it's one of his best performances because it felt real. You know when Will Smith in Fresh Prince and he starts screaming that the dad leaves and then Uncle Phil has to sort of comfort him, right? Everyone says that's like the best Will Smith's ever acted because that came from a real place, and I feel that, and everyone says like this is the same sort of thing for Tom in this instance. But yeah, so like that's the sort of that is like that's like the nuts and bolts. There's a lot more involved in Magnolia. But then Risky Business is quite. I think Risky Business is my preferred one. It's a bit more lighter-hearted, and it's a cheekier Tom. You know, it's a more naive Tom. It's more fun. But then you could also put Jerry Maguire into this category, but I left it out because I think Risky Business is closer to being the cult classic than Jerry Maguire. So I think of the ones I've chosen, I think I'm going to put Risky Business as my cult classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
My fan favourite, I was torn between two.
Yeah.
They're both virtually like, you know, there's only one letter off the difference of what film it is. And I put the original Top Gun. It was between Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. And I've chose the original one because it's like
it's been around a bit longer.
It's aged longer, and it's more. I find it like this sounds a bit overdramatic, but like its love transcends generations. So
yeah,
like I remember like I watched it with my parents, and my parents were quoting it as I watched it for the first time, and whatever like and like my mom says and I find it like not fascinating. That's overdramatic, but like. She says when spoilers again for films came out in the 80s, but when Goose dies, she said like everybody was coming out of the cinema crying. Yeah, it's like what? When Goose dies, like everybody was coming out of the cinema crying or whatever, and like it's like everybody like she said somebody spoiled that for her, and she was gutted. She'd be like at work or something like that. But I was saying like now loads of things get spoiled. It's like you have to stay off the internet in general if you really want to be invested in like a narrative in media. You've got but like that was a big thing. So I chose Top Gun because of like just how beloved it is, and I feel like it was not to sound like a very millennial like geeky guy. I feel like it was the 80s summer blockbuster of its time, and it was like the end game of its time. It was the Marvel's end game of its time. It was like it had like a lot of hype surrounding it. It was a big blockbuster.
I can't disagree with that.
It's got a stellar soundtrack. Like Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone, mate. Like on top of the film, it is the music. It is like you can't say like Danger Zone might not be like one of the best songs ever. I disagree personally. I think objectively it's quite great. But for like songs you think of, if you play Danger Zone, people know it's from Top Gun straight away.
Yeah.
And, like Take My Breath Away. If you play that, like people have heard of it, they know it straight away. Like not a lot of like songs you play from films are so easy identifiable. Like you just clock it straight away.
Yeah, I agree. But my fan favorite, I took a long time. This was actually the one I spent more time figuring out, and I ended up putting a placeholder because I couldn't quite figure out which I'd choose as a fan favorite because each one of his films I feel like has got a different fan following. So it's hard to describe which is the fan's favorite of his films because it's not like the directors where they've all got a style, right? Tom's performances in all these, he's done a lot of different styled films, but I was very close to saying Rain Man.
That's interesting.
But I ended up going with Mission Impossible.
That is very interesting. So which one?
That's the thing. I don't know which Mission Impossible to choose.
So, spoilers for this episode of the podcast. I've put. This is why I said it's interesting. So we're on fan favourite now, and there's only 2 categories left.
Yeah.
I've put masterpiece Rain Man, and I've put best work Mission Impossible Fallout. I'll dissect them further in a bit, but like, you can't choose between which Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I struggled choosing between mine, to be fair.
Well, I know what my favourite Mission Impossible is, but it's for the fan favourite. I find it difficult because my favourite is Fallout, without a doubt. I saw that 3 times in the cinema. I'd have watched it more times in the cinema if I had more money. I absolutely loved it, and I've watched it loads of times since. Like as soon as it was on digital release, I was like, bye.
I feel like to jump ahead to like, I know, especially if you're saying Mission Impossible, between me, I know a lot of people don't like 2.
Yeah, I think 2. I think 2's shit.
I think 2's good. I don't think I think it's a good action film. I just compared to the other Mission Impossible was like, it's not great. I think the first one's really good, and like I think they're all pretty good. I think
they're all
2's shit. I feel like
they're all pretty solid. The big problem with 2 is Dougray Scott. His acting is so bad.
Yes and no. Like, I don't know.
When you consider all the other villains in all the other films, he's the worst.
Philip Seymour compared to Philip Seymour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think 3 gets enough love because I actually really enjoy that one. Like if I was going to rate them, what number is Fallout? Is that number 7 or number 6?
That's number
6, right?
The reason
I'd put number 6 is the best one, followed by number 5, followed by number 3, followed by number 4, followed by number 1, followed by number 2.
What about 5? What?
Yeah, 5 is second best after Fallout.
Second best. See, I kind of agree because, like a lot of things in life, I suppose, when you get into the rhythm of it, I know you could argue like with a lot of like franchises, like the 6th one, you know, it's the 6th of anything, you could get a bit fatigued. Because it's Mission Impossible 2. Is it just called MI3 and then it's Rogue Nation? Yeah. No, sorry, then it's Ghost Protocol, then Rogue Nation, then Fallout.
Yeah, you got it there. But I think it's a shame that Jeremy Renner isn't in the later ones, but that's because of his Hawkeye shenanigans, yeah. And then there was, I think her name was Jane in Ghost Recon, Ghost Protocol. Jane.
Yeah, she was good.
She was. I really liked her character, but I don't know why she wasn't brought back in the other ones. I don't know why. And then there's the Irish lad in number 3.
I don't remember 3. I watched 3 for ages, but it was good.
Yeah. But there's some cast members that have been in like the other ones that are really good, and then they just haven't come back as such. But that's not to shit on the current cast members, because I mean I love the addition of Rebecca Ferguson. I'm looking forward to the addition of Hayley Atwell. I love Hayley Atwell.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
But so your fan favorite is
my fan favorite.
You can't choose between.
Yeah, it's the Mission Impossible franchise. Yeah, I can't. For the fans in general, I can't say which one's their favorite. I just know, as a whole, Mission Impossible is quite a large fan favorite.
Yeah.
Franchise.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and it is hard to choose between. Like, they don't really vary in quality. They're all pretty gold, and they're all like solid action. Action.
Yeah.
If you're talking to people who describe themselves as action film fans, you'd be hard pressed for them to not mention any of the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah. So, I really love practical stunts, and they don't mention Mission Impossible. You're like, excuse me?
do you like stunts? I've also one of the reasons I also put Top Gun in is I can't forgive me for not knowing. I could search it now, I suppose. Is the bromance and the acting between Goose and Maverick is gold in Top Gun.
Yeah.
And therefore, and speaking of rivals, the rivalry between him and Iceman is top notch. And also I think we'd be people would comment or whatever if we don't mention the not so much conspiracy, but the perspective of Top Gun being a love story between Iceman and Maverick. And I also think I don't think there's any harm in watching the film through that lens and that perspective, because I felt like that just it's a joke way to look at it, and also I think it's a fresh way to look at a film which has been out for 30 years. Like, 30 years.
Top Gun walked so Brokeback Mountain could run.
Yeah, exactly. My masterpiece is Rain Man, because I feel like it was written for Tom Cruise, because like a lot of people, and like I think this is a good thing in a way, because there's no arguing that he is a great actor, but he comes across as like arrogant and charismatic. But this character in particular he is arrogant, he's charismatic, but shows vulnerability in key moments.
Yeah.
And he shares most of his screen time with like one of the all-time great actors, Dustin Hoffman, and he goes toe to toe with him. And
I think I agree that it is a solid pick, because not only is it a brilliant film, but they work really well with each other, and they boost each other's performance like tenfold. I mean, it's not like Dustin Hoffman needs anyone to boost his performance, but that sort of working together, they really sort of elevated each other, and you could argue it's one of Tom's better performances as well.
Yeah, and that's why I've chosen it as my masterpiece, because despite us literally a minute ago hyping up how good the Mission Impossible films are, which they are good, is people just naturally like sometimes forget how good dramatic actor he is.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be the stuntman. Yeah,
it doesn't have to be the stuntman, and his character develops over the time from the selfish and self-centered guy to like caring and loving this brother he didn't know existed at the start of the film.
Yeah.
And I also not to rip off or this perspective, but from another well-known not to say another well-known, not like we're mega well-known, but hopefully one day, is Brett Goldstein's podcast, Films to Be Buried With, when he interviews people, and he asks them different questions, and he asks someone one of the questions he constantly asks people in these episodes is, what film means a lot to you because of not necessarily because it's a great film, but when you watched it or who you watched it with. And I remember my mom introduced me to Rain Man and saying basically it's one of her favourite films because of the mental health aspect of not so much mental health aspect, but helping Dustin Hoffman's character, and she just really enjoyed the action of it, and how it's a good dramatic film. Yeah. And I remember watching it with her the first time, and she introduced me to it, and it's a good film. I think I probably watched it when I don't know, probably 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah, I think
it still quite resonated with me.
I think I'm literally in the same boat there. I'm pretty sure my mom introduced me to Rain Man, and I'm pretty sure I watched it with her as well, on a Sunday or something after a Sunday dinner.
It's quite a maternal film, I feel, in a good way, all the positive aspects you could bring.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what's good. What this film is done, it handles a difficult subject maturely, and I feel like as a parent, in order to discuss mental health issues and things like that, especially when we were younger, when mental health wasn't necessarily something people talked about on a daily basis or whatever, it was a way of being able to sort of explain it, but also not explain it. But they'd be like, here, sit down, watch this. And, not to say that we had bad parents that couldn't teach us anything, but the film is done so well that it's entertaining.
It's a nice way to articulate it.
It allows a kid to sort of pay attention because it's something, on the TV, something interesting, but also they're actually learning something quite valuable.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And we turned out all right, so clearly it was the right thing to do.
Clearly it was a good thing to introduce it to. So what did you choose as the masterpiece?
I say, well, I mean, I wanted to go through best acting before I hit his masterpiece. But you've already settled on masterpiece, so we'll go for it. But you might be able to guess what I'm going to say is his masterpiece.
I don't know. Go on.
Surely you should know.
You think Top Gun Maverick?
Yeah. I think it's the pinnacle of his career so far. I watched it 3 times in the cinema. I brought it as soon as it came out on digital purchase, and I've watched it, I don't know, countless times since. I think it's so fucking good. I love it so much. I fucking love it. Like, it's not my favorite film ever, but I just love the film.
To piggyback off your point, and you say how many times you watched it, it's the only film this year. No, sorry, not the only film. Batman and Top Gun Maverick is the only films I watched in the cinema twice this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, you go to cinema and you watch like films for like different reasons, whether like what we just said, like introducing your kid to a certain aspect of life, or like, you know, a drama or whatever. I'm not saying like, you know, it's all like sunshine and rainbows, Top Gun Maverick, but it's definitely a feel good film. If you don't come out of that film like feeling like you've had a good time, I think like, I don't know.
Yeah. Feeling like you need to grow a mustache.
I'll grow a mustache, evidently not a mustache. But yeah, I think, like, I know what you mean with best work. Part of me thinks like you can like dissect best work in so many ways, but I understand when you say it's his pinnacle of work, because it's got to be up there for one of his best, one of his like, and also like I'll be interested to know. And you could argue like this is unprofessional for us not to like check this out, and I know some podcasts like do like box office breakdowns, but I'll be interested to know that it's probably his highest grossing film, I'd presume.
Oh yeah, no, it's already smashed records. It's like some odd billions or whatever. Because I've been sort of keeping an eye on it, because I was pissed off when they put Jurassic World on the IMAX cinemas and removed Top Gun from the IMAX. I was really pissed off about it, and I actually made like a post on Instagram, like, to, you know, all my millions of followers, and literally like a week later, it was back in IMAX, and generally I was like, maybe I started my own movement.
Maybe I have.
I mean, it's highly unlikely, but you know, but I'm so glad they brought it back to IMAX, because I think I don't know if it's in select cinemas still, right? I don't think you can watch it in IMAX anymore. But if like, honestly, if I'd Googled it now and I realised it was still in IMAX over at the Cineworld or Odeon near me, I would see it tomorrow again. Because like the sound design and everything, just the cinema experience of watching Top Gun Maverick is one of the best cinema experiences I've ever had.
I think it is a good cinema experience, and also like there is villains in the film, but what I like about it, there isn't.
Yeah,
there's not a straight up villain. There's not like somebody you're hating. Even John Hamm's character, who's like, he's not a dickhead. Like, you can see why he's acting the way he is.
Yeah, I actually think his character is underrated, because I mean, now that I've seen it a million times, I've seen like the different characterizations as such in all the different characters, and like his character is really good, to be honest. Like, he plays it really well, because he's meant to be like the strict guy, but he's doing his job. He's not out to be a dick. He's just doing his job. Yeah. Where it's like everyone's talking about, you know, this Maverick kid, right? And he's always being reckless or whatever. And he's like, that's not what the Navy is meant to be. You're not meant to be reckless. You're meant to be doing your job, sort of thing. But when he realizes how fucking good Maverick is, he's like, all right, I'm going to let you off the leash a little bit, but I'm still going to hold it. So I'm going to let you, you know, fly this mission, right? And you could see like his genuine concern and stuff when Maverick gets shot down. And, you know, his character is a brilliant character. And we discussed it when we did the Maverick episode, that, you know, if you're going to choose someone as the bad guy, it probably is John Hamm. But now that I've watched it multiple times, he's not the bad guy at all. Like, apart from the enemy that shoots at them in the other jets, right? There is no enemy. There's no bad character. There's no horrible character that you're like, oh, can't they just fuck that character off already? Because even Glenn Powell's character, you sort of warm to him towards the end, and you're sort of like, he's a bit cocksure of himself, but not being chosen for the mission really made him realize, you know, yes, I'm a brilliant pilot, but I got to sort out my attitude, you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about Tom's performance, and for me, it's just his pinnacle of stunt.
I think he elevates everybody else's performance on screen. Yeah. I think you can argue like that in a lot of his films, but I feel because, despite all the people, all the actors in it are probably older than us, like quite a few years older than us, but like he does a lot of like younger generation casts he's working with, whether it be Miles Teller, whether it be Glenn Powell or whatever. He's working with them a lot, and he's elevating their performance. And you say this, the flight sequences and him doing the stunts in them is gold.
Yeah, I did actually say in our Top Gun episode that I was like 90% sure Tom flew the jets.
Yeah.
So I've since realised he didn't actually fly any of the jets. He wanted to, right? But the insurance price of allowing him to fly the jet was almost the exact same budget of the actual entire film.
Oh my god!
So they couldn't budget him for the insurance and stuff for him to fly the jets. So he is sat in the second cockpit while they're flying all the jets. But don't let that take you away from the movie magic or just like the incredible performance he gives anyway. I mean, he does fly 100%. He does fly the plane at the end where he's got Jennifer Connelly in the back with him, because that's actually his own plane. So when they start flying around to Lady Gaga's school, that's like he does that for real.
I think Hold Your Hand's a banger as well.
Yeah.
Hold Your Hand's a banger. I Ain't Worried is also a banger.
Yeah, I've listened to that. That became my song of the summer. That did.
Yeah, I Ain't Worried. It's a good laugh.
Yeah.
If you fancy like listening to a song with like getting a good mood, like I Ain't Worried's a good track.
Yeah, it's solid. But it's not to say that Tom couldn't have flown the jets. Like he wanted to, he was willing to. Like he'd practiced. He's
probably able to.
Yeah, but he's just the money wise, it was just not feasible to do so. Which is a shame because that would have been amazing. If I was to tell someone 100%, like, yeah, he flew that plane, you'd just be like, whoa, you wouldn't second guess it because that's how raw the performance looks. Like they're still pulling all that G-force and everything. They still have to do those performances. So I think it's still an incredible achievement for cinema, but also for his lifelong career to cultivate to that point. All the experience and everything he's built along the way. And, it's still one of his best acting performances as well, to be honest, because I tell you now, the bit when he comes out of the bar, right, and Miles Teller's playing the piano, and you just see Tom sort of looking back through the window, and he's sort of like getting a flashback of Goose, right? That bit, oh my God, that gets me every time. And I don't know how many times I've seen that film now, but every single time, right, I've always got like a tear in the corner of my eye because it's so well done. So well done. Even the bit. I'm going on a fucking Maverick hype right now. But even the bit when they're flying back in the F-14, right, and they're trying to like, I need you to eject because we've got no stuff left. And Miles Teller's like, I can't eject. It won't work, right? Literally that moment there, like the music and the way the cinematography's done. It's so good. That's why it is my masterpiece for Tom's career. So far.
I also like looking at his filmography now, and I haven't mentioned it, but I remember it being like a good sci-fi film I've watched with my kid, like dad quite a few times. It's Minority Report.
Yeah.
And Minority Report's good.
I think, it's not a bad film. I don't think Oblivion is that bad of a film, or Vanilla Sky, but they're just, I don't think they quite fit the categories we wanted to talk about.
I don't think you should be too negative, but like I can't. If I had to pick a worst one, I suppose it would be Eyes Wide Shut. I couldn't get through Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know what it was, despite it being directed by Stanley Kubrick. All something great. I couldn't get through that.
I think a lot of people actually say Night and Day is his worst.
Is that the one with Cameron Diaz?
Yeah. But it's.
I can understand where they're coming from, but I wouldn't say it's worse.
I don't think it's his worst. Or The Mummy. The reboot of The Mummy.
Yeah, I've heard The Mummy's crap, so I don't think I have.
It's not horrible.
Consensus is crap.
It's not horrible. Like, it's like it's not great. It's not as good as the original Mummies. Okay, it's not as good as Brendan Fraser's Mummies, right? But it's not crap. It's just not as good. I mean, American Made. That's not.
Do you know what I was going to say? That was another positive honourable mention.
Yeah,
I think that's quite a good film. There.
I was gonna say because like I don't think many people have seen that one, to be honest.
I watched it a few times. I think it's good.
You have, yeah. I think you watched the first time you watched it. I think you watched it with me, like
Yeah, I
yours.
watched it at mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
I'm trying to something that's really, really bad.
No, I can't. I like another good honourable mention. I think like I'm quite into vampire films. I think Interview with a Vampire is like a different type of vampire film. I think it's not amazing, but it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
My mom swears by Born on the 4th of July. I remember watching that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think that's a good dramatic performance. I was tempted to put that in my like underrated because it doesn't bring up a lot. That's good.
To be fair, I mean, for my best acting. So, have you merged your masterpiece and your best acting in the same one, in the same category?
No, I think we just like discussed them quite generally. I put my masterpiece is Rain Man, and my like best work is Mission Impossible 4 now.
Oh, Mission Impossible. Okay.
To be fair, we've both like discussed them like together.
See, I'd argue that one of his best performances is A Few Good Men, where he plays Lieutenant Daniel Caffey.
Again, like you probably say, like, "Oh my god, you haven't watched that?" I haven't watched it.
Really?
No, I haven't watched it.
Well, I'll tell you something now. If you asked me a year ago, I'd also said I hadn't watched it.
So you've only just recently watched it?
Yeah, so I've only recently watched it, to be honest. But it's I think I was watching a load of Jack Nicholson films or something, and I thought, oh yeah, this was one of his really good ones because you know the whole famous scene of "You can't handle the truth," right? So I was like, oh, I'll give it a watch, and I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting. Have you seen The Firm?
Yeah, I started watching it.
Yeah. I say The Firm is an odd one. It's a bit of a slow one. But The Firm and A Few Good Men, he's basically playing the same character, but the films are completely different. And ironically enough, The Firm came out a year after A Few Good Men. But no, A Few Good Men is, I think, one of his better performances. You know, for if I was going to say best acting, I think that's the one I'd probably choose. Again, you could argue it was Magnolia when he got snubbed for the Academy Award, but I do think A Few Good Men was solid.
Yeah, I have to give it a chance, what the chance it deserves.
Yeah, I say the thing is, like we said, trying to narrow down his shit ones. He hasn't got a lot of shit films. A lot of his films are all really enjoyable, solid films.
Yeah, and I also feel like, and this sounds like really liberal and like quite pretentious, and like this comes from a place of like, I don't know, just trying to be like, I don't know, sound, and like I'm not like a big filmmaker or whatever, but I also like, you know, do my fair bit of acting and creative stuff, and Kieran more so with his own projects. I just feel like you shouldn't, I don't know, tear things down too much. I think like you should like, criticize things, but like also there's enough people terrorizing things and tearing stuff down, and also I'm not in
constructive.
To be constructive, and also I'm not in a position to like sit there and throw like stones where like it takes hard work to do anything like.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but at the same time, when they've got hundreds of millions of budget and they still fuck it off, you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
What are you spending that money on?
Yeah. And also, like, if it's a valid criticism, I like to feel like we do that. But, yeah, we tend not to, like, unless it's, like, a Convince Me episode and it's really bad, like Jurassic World, or, like, when it, not Jurassic Dominion, sorry.
Yeah.
Or, like, every now and again we will tear something bad. But, yeah, I like to think it's from a good place and constructive.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if it's Tom Cruise in general, it's hard for me to just rattle off loads of shit films. I can't. Like, not to like speak too broadly and like, I look at like you've just suggested A Few Good Men and like Risky Business are on there.
Yeah.
I wish, like, not to get too much into my personal life, I just wish, like, I would add more annual leave in general and just more time in general in life. Where I'll be playing PlayStation or where it would just be, like, watching TV and films. There's so many films, like, whether it's, like, current stuff, like, you look at the internet now, they're really pushing Andor. Where it's, like, me, like, wanting the time to watch Andor or catch up on films from the 80s. Just isn't enough time in the world, is there?
Well, all right. What would you of Tom's entire category? Someone has never ever seen a single one of his films. What film would you introduce to them as like the first film for them to watch?
It'll be between Top Gun Maverick and Rayman, but I feel like you'd probably say this. I presume I'm not just saying it to like please you. I feel like Top Gun Maverick really has a good like feel, and he has a clear beginning, middle, and end. Don't get me wrong, you probably appreciate it more if you've seen the original, but it's a very clean cut picture.
I think that I don't know if I would recommend Maverick as the first film to someone to watch because it's all downhill after Maverick.
You think is that, as you say, it's the pinnacle?
Yeah, so it's a tough one. I'd actually probably go for an underrated one of his. If not a Mission Impossible, I'd go for an underrated one such as The Last Samurai, Valkyrie, or War of the Worlds, or Collateral, or something like that.
Samurai was good as well. I really like
that. I think it's something. I mean, even A Few Good Men. I mean, I know I asked the question, but I'm actually now struggling to figure out which one I would recommend.
No, I think it's a good testament, really. It's good to like we've got like our comment section full or whatever. If anything, like answer below what you'd choose. The exact same question for you. Really. If nobody had known this person, this random alien person, has never seen any Tom Cruise suggest.
Yeah. So I mean,
and that's
I'll go back from my list here as well. Like my cult classic was Risky Business. My underrated was well, it was a mix of 4 different ones: War of the Worlds, Samurai, Last Samurai, Valkyrie, and Collateral. A fan favorite was a Mission Impossible Spectrum. Best acting was A Few Good Men, maybe Magnolia, like arguably, but then his masterpiece for me was Top Gun Maverick. What was yours again, Mikey?
Underrated between Edge and Tomorrow and Cocktail. Cult classics, Tropic Thunder. Fan favourite is Top Gun, OG. Masterpiece is Rain Man. And best work is Mission Impossible Fallout. Also, top tip, and this like Kieran probably know this more than me. And obviously, like Mission Impossible films when Fallout came out was like it's not like a huge action like franchise. Made me get hyped for it even more. It was the first time I'd heard Friction by Imagine Dragons. It's one of the best intros of all time.
To be fair, you love Bones, and that's also because that's the trailer for season 3 of The Boys.
Yeah. Bones is probably one of my other favourite Imagine Dragons. Check. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Tom Cruise's.
That's our thoughts on Tom. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to the 2-parter of the new Mission Impossibles as well. I'm very looking forward to those, but I'm trying not to overhype them. I'm trying to really stay neutral.
To look for the future for that, he's like on IMDb. He's like current his future projects. He's, as you say, Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2. And then it's untitled Tom Cruise SpaceX project, and Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat, which is obviously a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow / Live, Die, Repeat.
Did you say a untitled SpaceX, as in Elon Musk's SpaceX?
That's what it says. Untitled Tom Cruise SpaceX.
Fucking hell, Tom's going to he's going to space.
Well, it sounds like a very typical.
It's like I'm not surprised at all. But it's like, is Tom trying to be the first guy to Mars?
Tom Cruise and director Doug Liman travel far beyond Earth to film their first ever Hollywood motion picture in outer space. That is all what is known about it. It said, I don't think it even has a year window because it's a space film as well.
Yeah.
It just doesn't like all the, like on the side it has Dead Reckoning Part 1's in post production, so it says 2023. And Mission Impossible 8 is in 2024. This SpaceX project, no year release date.
That is going to be...
Sounds like an orgasm, Kieran. It's like
literally, I'm jizzing in my pants. Interstellar, move aside.
Yeah, Interstellar, fuck off. Yeah. Top Gun meets space.
Oh, mate, that would be the dream. I am literally like eyes wide right now.
Tripping
what
balls
do you say?
and excitement.
I am, yeah. I'm actually, after this, I'm going to actually research up on this and figure out what's going on. How can I be involved?
So,
but yeah, go on, we'll jump straight into moments of the week.
I like to, like, with franchises, but like with like IPs which have got like a previous jog my memory for stuff. You know, for instance.
Yeah.
With like when like we've been talking about Mission Impossible, I typically rewatch the last one in the franchise to jog my memory or whatever.
Top
and
Gun.
If it was a TV show, yeah. If it's a TV show, sometimes I'll watch like the last season or whatever, or even just watch a YouTube recap if I want to. But for instance, well, this is a roundabout way of me saying I've been playing God of War 2018, and to get hyped for God of War Ragnarok, and back in November. So I've like first problem. I've been toying. I knew I'd replay God of War 2018. I just didn't know when I was going to replay it. Was I going to play it too close to Ragnarok's release, and like maybe Ragnarok won't hit me as hard? Or am I going to start playing it like I was going to play it in like the summer or like May time? So I started playing it like last week. And my moment, if like the whole game's great, like it's objectively a great game. Like apart from like the general like only like one of the minor criticisms is it? It's like there isn't a lot of enemy variety. Like I'd say like, I don't know, 45% of the enemies are Dragas. But apart from that, like apart from the enemy variety, it's like a near perfect game, I'd say. But my favourite moment in it is when you kill. Like a lot of people would say, when you first kill like see Baldur, I think I like even mentioned it when we done Dying Light 2 when you first fight Baldur, and like how the game kicks into gear from there. But my favourite moment, and it's probably just because I played it, you could argue I've just played this bit recently, like today, but it's when you kill I think it's Modi. Basically, you kill the 4 sons, and that first fight with them, when you're fighting both of them, is just intense. And the storytelling war during the boss fight between like them winding up Atreus and Atreus losing control and like going mental and raging, and like the aftermath after that, and how you use the axe throughout the entire game, and like I don't know, it's just a great moment.
Yeah, it is.
You brutally like I can't like I do apologise. Spot me doing it today. It's easy to get mixed up. I can't remember if you kill Magni or Modi, but basically Atreus is getting wrecked by one of them, and the one of them grabs you, as in like Kratos, and then you go mental and you hack him to bits with a rifle axe. Like you chop his arm off, you like chop his abdomen, and like he's got gash coming out of him, and like you kill him, and then the other brother, the brother who's just like basically like grabbing Atreus, as in obviously like they're Acer gods, and like he shits himself, and he's like he's never seen his like brother get battered before, never mind killed. So he's like, "What are you? Who are you?" And up until now, he just knew like his uncle Baldur was like, "You've got to go kill this guy." Like Kratos and his son who were traveling, so they were just going to kill him, thinking it'll be a piece of piss, and the next thing you know, his brother's dead. It's great, yeah, and it does get you hyped for the new one because you know, like whether Thor's the main like boss battle at the end of Thor Ragnarok. It's good. It like makes you get hyped for killing Thor.
Yeah, I'm pretty looking forward to playing Thor Ragnarok, to be honest. But I'm not quite as hyped to.
God of War Ragnarok. It's easy to do, but yeah, God of War.
Yeah. I'm not. But wait, what did I say?
Thor Ragnarok, which is also one of my favorite MCU films.
That's jokes. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok. I'm not quite as hyped as you, but I'm pretty looking forward to playing it. To be honest, It's been a while since I've played a decent single player. Actually, no, I suppose the last game I played decent single player was Horizon Forbidden West, and that was only a couple of months ago. But still, it still feels like a long time.
It still feels like a long time ago. Like a nice, like random tidbit, before I interrupt your moment of the week, is I was listening to like another podcast. They was like talking about God of War, like in a review, they'd like to call it on Kind of Funny. But did you know? And listen to this, like in like hindsight now, in perspective, in 2018, considering how good these three games are, God of War came out in like March, and then in September, Spider-Man came out, and then in the October, Red Dead 2 came out. Kind of like I don't think there's like in us like being like gamers and being like more like adults and looking on gaming. That's a solid year. That's like a near perfect year for gaming. But like single player games, they're all three of those experiences are like spot
on. Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean,
yeah, it's a random. It sounds a bit off, but like it's. I didn't know that. I didn't know like, and I played all three of those games, and they're probably like all of them, and like all three of those games are in my top 10 games of all time.
To be fair, it's a decent game. It's not an amazing game, but it's a game that we put a lot of time into. Whereas back at uni, we literally just finished like our third year, but we were like in that interim period before it was like summer, and I just remember every day I'd just wander around to Mikey's, and we just play Fallout 4.
Yeah, Fallout 4. Did that come out then? It must have come out in like 2016 then?
That would have been 2016, yeah. Like those days, I reminisce of those days.
Fallout 4
we literally had
in November the 10th, 2015.
Yeah, we had not a single care in the world.
Yeah, speaking of like games or media or like film coming out and like having a good time like playing it or watching it, yeah, Fallout 4 will be up there because it's objectively a good game. It's not my favorite game, but like I just have good memories playing it.
Yeah, I just literally remember I'd wake up at like 8 o'clock, right, and then I'd sort of have my breakfast or whatever. I wander around to yours for about 10, right, and then we'd just be playing Fallout 4 until fucking I don't know, like 1 a.m. or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm gonna go home now. So I go back home, go to bed. Then I wake up again, have a breakfast, wander back round to Mikey's, and we play Fallout 4.
I just understand how good it is because spoilers, Fallout and Bethesda games in general mostly, it's like single player games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good laugh. That was. So what was your moment of the week like?
So my moment of the week, we're planning on doing an episode on this at some point in the future once like the whole series is done and Mike has seen it too. But I've started watching the Rings of Power, so the Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon Prime. I think I watched 5 episodes now. It's coming out weekly. So that's quite good. So you can sort of like have time to digest each episode. That being said, I did binge all 5 episodes this week. I wasn't sure what to think of it at all to begin with. Like when it was, initially sort of showcased and like the trailers and stuff. And to be honest, when I saw the trailers, I thought it looked a bit naff. I didn't think it looked particularly interesting. But I've decided to, give it a chance, give it a watch because I really enjoyed the films. I enjoyed the books. So I wanted to sort of just give it a chance. So I start watching it, and off the bat, I was like, well, Gladriel seems a bit like a Mary Sue. She seems like she's totally capable of everything, and she's an absolute badass. But then things change quite a bit, and it really starts to lean into the characterization then of, she's not all that sort of thing. There's something else afoot here. And then you meet other characters, and I felt like the beginning of it I feel like they tried to introduce too many characters too quickly, but after sort of like the 3rd episode, it really starts to sort of really just start to tie into its story rather than introducing new characters left, right, and centre. It really focuses on its sort of storylines now. So it's improving with each episode. But for me, it took me until episode 3 to get into it. And in particular, in episode 3, you meet a character. They say his name once, but after that, he's literally known as the captain or father, right? So I can't remember his name, but he's basically the captain of the ship who rescues Gladriel from the ocean. That's not necessarily a spoiler. That's just a bit to familiarize yourself with who I'm on about. But I really like this guy's character. Yeah, I find him really interesting. But the thing is, I know his character is not someone of super importance, right? So I know at some point his character is potentially going to die, and that's really going to bum me out because he's one of my favorite things in the show. Because his son is called.
What's the world building like? Because I'm interested because Amazon have spent a lot on it. I know it's like,
yes, yeah. So I'll just carry on with my point originally. Is this captain's son is called Isildur, or I don't know if that's how you properly pronounce it, but Isildur is one of the guys that had one of the rings of power, and he could have thrown it into Mount Doom originally, and Elrond is like, cast it into the fire, destroy it, and then he turns around and he's like, no, right, and he walks back out of Mount Doom, right, and that's how the rings of power sort of then carried on. So Isildur's going to be a problematic person later on in the series, but I don't know if it's the same character. But I think the odds of having two characters called Isildur, is is highly unlikely because there's not two Gladriels, is there? Or there's not two Elronds, or there's not two Boromirs, or so it's unlikely. So it could be the same guy, which is interesting. But no, sorry, the world building. I think the world building is phenomenal. Like I think the set design, the costume design, the sort of even the CGI is done very well because you really get a sense of the actual scale of the world. I want to say of Middle Earth, but they're not actually. Middle Earth is like a continent. It's not actually the whole planet.
yeah.
So I don't actually know what the whole planet or whatever it's called, but this is like before the Shire and before, it's kind of this show is about the creation of the Rings of Power, hence why it's called the Rings of Power, and it's about the creation of Sauron. So yeah.
In it at the moment, because I'm going to watch it, like, and as we just said, like, I'm definitely going to watch it. Like, I think the Lord of the Rings films, all three of them are great. I don't really like the Hobbit films, but that's different matter entirely. But so it's called Rings of Powers in plural. I'm interested, like, one of the like reasons I'm like interested in it as well is what is it the same ring? Like what not like they're gonna be Infinity Stones like fucking MCU or all have different like powers. But what's the difference between like the different rings, or is there only just one in at the moment? Not spoiling it.
There's no rings at the moment. So at the moment, Celebrimbor is working with Elrond, and they're working with the dwarves to create the tower that creates the rings. So there's currently in the storyline at the moment at 5 episodes in there are no rings. So they're just sort of creating. They're sort of forming alliances to then build the sort of the Great Forge to then forge these rings. But I can't remember how many rings there are in total. I think there's 9 for men, 7 for the dwarves, and then I think and then there's 3 separate rings.
Yeah, because I remember in the Fellowship, as you say, like basically he goes over at the start and like the backstory is like there is a lot of rings, and as you say, like the different races get caught like a certain number each.
Yeah.
Like due to Lord of the Rings being set at the future of that, and obviously the TV show is set like 1,000 years before, I think, or something, is that it only explores the one ring, and so you never really learn like what the other rings do or how good they are or whatever. Like, because like let's face it, as much as I like the Lord of the Rings films, essentially all it does is make you go invisible and you get a bit paranoid. It's actually not that good practically wise. It's actually not that good.
Yeah.
It's not like Frodo all of a sudden has like, not like I want to make it too comic booky, but he has super speed or like, he can see things or whatever. He's literally just goes invisible and gets really angsty.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've read the books. Like there's a lot more to it than that. But obviously, you need to sort of watch the show and enjoy the show, or even read the books, just to sort of get an idea of what's going on there. I don't want to spoil it too much because it's something to enjoy and learn through the show. But yeah, like I'm enjoying it so far. Like even after the first episode where I was like I wasn't quite sure where it's going or I wasn't sure about the pacing of it, there was something there that wanted me to watch the second episode. And it's just like I say, it's the costume design, the music. The music's created by Bear McCreary, who's done like a lot of stuff of late, and he's really captured the essence of Howard Shore, who did the original score for The Lord of the Rings. You really sort of get that sense and that feel. But like the set design and the costumes again, they're incredible. Like you fully believe that this world, this life is real. And I mean, even getting like the dwarves next to the elves, the height differences and things like that, everything looks in its place. Nothing looks odd. And it's really well acted as well. There's not one character, but like I don't like their acting or anything like that.
Everyone's you out of it because they're bad.
Yeah, everyone's doing a solid job. I'm just looking forward to see where the show goes.
I think I'll probably, when they're all released, I think I'll just watch like all of it within like 2 weeks or a week and a half, then we'll cover it then.
Yeah, I think there's going to be 10 episodes. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I feel like they're going to, because it's Amazon's flagship TV show. I feel like they're gonna have it not drag it out like especially because I haven't watched it. Like if you say it's good, like it's probably a good thing at the end of the day. But they're gonna have it in the zeitgeist as long as they can. Yeah,
I mean, I had heard that they're doing 5 seasons, but I don't know where I heard that from or how I heard it, and how true that is.
If it's well received and like it's their biggest thing. Like if you look at Netflix has quite a few big things. But yeah.
Yeah, but as we've said before, as long as there's a story to tell, it can keep on going. But don't just do something to oversaturate it and ruin it, such as The Walking Dead.
I don't know. I think it's The Walking Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you recall,
I remember like the trouble with Walking Dead is it's not like it should have ended a long time ago, but like some of the seasons feel a bit bloated. Like there's some meh episodes where they don't need to have.
Well, you said this in a recent moment of the week for yourself, was Walking Dead has some of the best episodes, followed by some of the worst episodes in existence. So what my point is, if they didn't have to do those worst episodes in existence, just like keep all the good episodes together, then the whole show could have been over in like 7 seasons. So just people at Amazon, please don't oversaturate it, please. Just don't ruin it.
Don't make it bloated.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, what you can always do is to do a spin-off of one of the characters, because actually everyone wants to see a spin-off. So far, I've seen people want to see a spin-off of Elrond and Dorin, of their younger years, of their sort of like their sort of banter and camaraderie of how they became friends and what they did in their past, because they're really interesting characters, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it's a staple of like, I don't know, not like I'd like openly describe us as like geeks or nerds, but if like Lord of the Rings and that fantasy genre is a staple of like people being into film. And it'll be like a mist if like I didn't watch it, so I'll definitely watch it soon.
In fact, there's actually a really really good bit. Basically, Galadriel's trying to convince the men to help her fight for the Southlands against, Sauron, basically. And she's trying to train them, and she's basically saying, fight with your feet and not with your arms, right? So she starts training these guys, and she says, whoever lands, a blow, whoever cuts my skin, will be will gain the rank of lieutenant. All right, and she fights one guy, and then he can't do it. Then she fights another, and then all of a sudden she's fighting 2v1. Then it's a 3v1, and then it's a 4v1, and she's like working them all on. Like I say, she's like a Mary Sue, right? And then one of them finally lands a blow, and then she goes, "Congratulations, Lieutenant." And then it just dawned on me, shit, she said Lieutenant, not Lieutenant, and that was just another little thing for me that, you know, we've got the British, you know, the proper British way of saying certain words, which I found really interesting. Yeah, and that's another thing as well. Actually, is there is a lot of British accents, and I find that a lot more in a lot of different things at the moment. There's a lot of British accents, different British dialects in a lot of shows at the moment, particularly Scottish. I mean, you haven't seen Andor yet. I've watched a couple of episodes of Andor, and I swear there's like a Scottish person in every other scene.
Oh, good.
Right? And I remember talking to my dad about it, and he was like, "You know what pisses me off? It's set in a galaxy far, far away, but there's still a fucking Scot. You know, it's like, make up your own fucking accent. Why does it have to, like, you're a galaxy far, far away, and all I can hear is a Scottish accent. That's not that far away, is it? It's only 100 miles up the road."
Fair enough. But now, that's the episode. Thank you for listening, as always. It's
yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you would recommend to someone who hasn't seen a Tom Cruise film.
Yeah.
You know, what film would you recommend?
Interact with us, but
yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fortnightly content. I was saying weekly content, but it's fortnightly at the moment because we've just got very busy lives at this moment in time.
Yeah, so it's a bit mental at the moment, but like, yeah, thank you. We appreciate it as usual, and look after yourselves.
Yeah, and we will catch you in the next one.
In the next episode. Have a good time.
Bye.
Bye.